isn't it? We don't go full course caution. So if you lose the time early on, you're just not going to make it back up.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But I think in the virtual world, it's a little bit better to have only local cautions, because then we have green flag racing. Imagine having 3 or 4 pace laps here, and then we would have no racing anymore. So the pace guy is off, and I think we are having a green flag.
We are, yeah. Here goes Andre Castro looking to try and get the jump on everybody else, but it looks as though Lasse Sorensen is sitting behind him as they head up towards turn number 1. Jeffrey Ruffin is side by side with, that will be Tobias Dauenhauer, who's sitting there in 4th place. Is everybody safely going to make it through turn number 1? They're all being very sensible at this stage through the first couple of corners, but it is Andre Castro that leads. It's Lasse Sorensen in 2nd place, Jeffrey Ruffin sitting there in 3rd, Tobias Dauenhauer, Loris Hasemans, Ulysse Delceau, Malin Kramers, I think, is up into 6th position, but Contact and Ulysse Delceau gets spun around, which is going to drop the Frenchman down through the order, the former EuroNASCAR 2 champion. I don't think the car suffered a great deal of damage as a result of that little grassy moment there. But Jeffrey Ruffin now up into 3rd, Tobias Dauenhauer up into 4th, Hasemans up into 5th, and Malin Kramers is up into 6th position. Alan Day down in 7th in the early stages, so it's a DF1 Racing 1-2. Hendricks cars 3rd, 4th and 5th, Andre.
Ah, yes, and I have to sort it out a little bit, because I saw several cars spinning. 2 of them were the blue DF1 cars, so I think it was Justin Kuhns and maybe Alain Moscaron. I'm not totally sure, but I think there were some incidents in the first lap, but it could have been more chaos, so everything's fine.
There's Alain Moscaron for getting fired off, and I'm not sure whether it was Justin Kuhns that inadvertently made a little bit of contact there. So Kuhns was down, right. Then there was a secondary incident as well, right? So those were the 2 that you saw on a separate screen to me. So thank you for picking up on those. Malin Kramers for Feed Vict Racing, looking to see whether he can hang on to 6th place. He's got a 2 times former EuroNASCAR champion right behind him, the Israeli driver Alon Day, who is only 2nd behind Andre Villarino in terms of overall wins in the EuroNASCAR Pro Series. Now we go on board with Lasse Sorensen, looking to see whether there is any opportunity to get past Andre Castro. If the opportunity presents itself, he will go for it. But in the early stages of the race, I still think they will try and work together to try and open up the gap. And at the moment, they are not really doing that, because Jeffrey Ruffin, together with Tobias Dauenhauer and the identical liveried car of Loris Hasemans, are all together. So it's 5 for the lead and then the gap back before we see Malin Kramers in 6th position. Alan Day side by side with Andreas Jochumsen. Can Jochumsen work his way through? He's having a good go, but I don't think the Danish driver is quite going to do it. No, so it's going to be 8th position still for Andreas Jochumsen. Alessandro Brigatti sits there in 9th place, and completing the top 10 at this stage is going to be Colavita that completes the top 10. So that's the order that they're in. So back over the start-finish line, Alan Day looking in his mirrors. Andreas Jochumsen Chevy right behind him, picking up the toe, and he's just too far away. It looks as though the braking area for turn 1, it's really difficult to probably gauge your braking point, Andre, is it? And if you don't quite get it right, you're carrying so much momentum. If you just brake slightly later than you wanted to, it has a real consequence, doesn't it?
Yes, you're totally right in that point, because you have this big, long straight of the speedway course ahead of you, and there's not a big sign or something you can see in the grandstands or on the wall, so you cannot see exactly where you are. So you have to have the right feeling where you are and where the braking point is. That was my experience when I was at that road course with that car. So I think the problem is that you see the wide speedway track, the big oval ahead of you, and you think, stop, I have to brake here and go to the right for the road course. That's a very, very tricky part. You have to be very concentrated to find the right spot and to find something in the grandstands, in the wall, in the fence or something like this to give you a little bit of orientation where you are on the track.
So we've only got 3 Fords in the top 10, and those Fords are 3rd, 4th and 5th at the moment. The Chevys dominating. They have the first 2 places, and they also occupy places from 6th all the way through to 11th place at the moment, Chevy. Tobias Downhour sitting there in 4th place. Hendricks Motorsport teammate ahead. Hendricks Motorsport teammate behind. Now, are they getting caught, though, by the car in 5th place, which is Malin Kramer's? Last lap through, Tobias Downhour lapped at exactly the same pace as Loris Hazeman's, and Malin Kramer's behind, lost out by a couple of tenths. So at this stage, they're not quite getting caught. But through the first sector, Malin Kramer's in 6th position, who's already up 3 places, started 9th on the grid, did gain a bit of time over the pair ahead. He was a couple of seconds quicker, which suggests he might have made a mistake somewhere, possibly. Going to have a quick look back, potentially at a replay of Stefano Gustavalle, but we'll see whether we can pick up on that one. The race still continuing with Andre Castro still out there in the lead at this stage. Alan Day still sitting there in 6th place, but coming under pressure now from Andreas Jochumsen and Malin Kramer's, both of whom run side by side coming down the straight. Jochumsen's going to go through and gain 7th place here. Yes, he does. So the Dane goes through. Kramer's trying to fight back through the next corner, but he's just going to have no choice but to tuck the Feedvic Racing Chevy behind. And Andreas Jochumsen there, so close to the tail end of the number 24 PK Carsport Chevy of the double champion Alan Day. There was almost contact between the pair of them, but still it is Alan Day hanging on to 6th position. Remember, he wasn't able to join us last time out at Zandvoort, so he dropped down through the championship order and is now down in 10th positions in the standings, with a 2nd position at Brands Hatch, an 8th place at Watkins Glen, and of course a non-appearance at Zandvoort, so he'll need a good haul of points to try and work his way back up through the order. 6th place at the moment would give him 31 points, which still means that he's sort of losing out to the drivers, Andre, that are already at the sharp end of the championship.
Yes, I think missing a race is very critical here, but with the playoffs, with the double points in the last 3 races, you can climb back up the ladder. So I think we cannot throw Alan Day out of the competition for the title right now, but he has a lot of work to do. And something on the first corner, of course, there are some little signs on the wall, there are some piles to say, don't go straight, please turn right here. But I think it's still very, very hard to judge the right spot to brake. So just to complete the thought I had a few moments earlier.
Vladimiras Choitsis is having a great run again here. He is in 12th position now, the Cypriot driver. He's got Bavo Follon right behind him. We haven't seen huge amounts of Choitsis inside the top sort of 12 or top 15 in the main races. He's also had a fair chunk of bad luck along the way and incidents, but he's another driver that I have seen competing in several different esports championships on iRacing over the course of the last few weeks, including the British Formula 3 Championships as well, that concludes its championship season down at Donington Park on iRacing on Sunday evening. But he is going beautifully well here and is holding up Alex Fontana that sits behind. Back to the fight for the lead. Andre Castro still continuing to lead. Lasse Sorensen still there in 2nd place. They haven't really squabbled. They haven't hauled each other up, which hasn't allowed Jeffrey Ruffin to really close in. But Ruffin in 3rd place is just now starting to gap, is he not? Loris Hazemans, who's now in 4th place and got himself ahead of Tobias Downhour, which happened a lap or so ago. So it's still DF1 Racing 1st and 2nd, Hendricks Motorsport Fords 3rd, 4th and 5th, Feedvic Racing Chevy of Malin Kramer's sitting there in 6th position, Leonardo Colavita in his Chevy is 7th, Alessandro Bugatti is 8th, Simon Palat is 9th, Alan Day is now down into 10th position and potentially lost a couple of places with an issue somewhere. As we look towards the fight that's going on for 11th and 12th positions, Alex Fontana looking as though he's going to gain the place here over Bavo Fallon. Ford looking to try and get through it ahead of the Chevy. Can't quite do it at the end of the straight. So Fontana driving beautifully well. He's had to work hard so far this evening, has Alex Fontana. And he's one of those drivers that had to carve his way up through the field after problems and a mistake in the heat, and is now looking as though he has gained a raft of places in this one off the very back almost, wasn't he, following coming through in the last qualification race, last chance qualification race. Now there is Andreas Jochumsen, damage to the front end of his car, which tells a story, doesn't it? What happened to Andreas Jochumsen? Because he was right up there in the top half a dozen in the early stages, but is now looking as though he's going to drop all the way to the bottom of the order. At 9.5 minutes of the scheduled 30 gone. Still Andre Castro has led every lap so far. We ride on board with the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Lasse Sorensen, teammate to the car ahead, but trying to hunt down the lead at the same time. You can hear the short shift there as it came through that corner, then start to feed the power in again. And even when you've got warmth in the tyres, Andre, coming out of the slow corners, when you've got a big long straight ahead of you, how tempting is it to get on the gas just that bit too early? I think we've lost Andre for the moment. Lasse Sorensen bouncing over the curbs, turning his way through the next little bit of the complex. I'm not sure whether you heard the question, Andre.
Unfortunately, no, I had some connection problems right now.
I was just saying, even when you've got warmth in the tyres, you come through the twisty section and you get to sort of turn 5, turn 6, and you see that big long straight coming up. Even with warmth in the tyres, how easy is it to get on the gas too early and cause yourself problems?
It's very, very easy to get on the throttle too early, and with those big V8 engines under the hood, it has so much power, the cars. You have to be very sensitive to the throttle, and having a good pedals here is very important, because you need to be very sensitive. You have to check, can I get here 50%, 60%, 70% of acceleration, and then when you get the steering wheel straight, then you push it to 100. When you do it before you put the steering wheel straight, when you're still turning, it's going to be a mess for sure.
Yeah, power oversteer. Yeah, remember, we are running not the same cars as we run in the real NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. This is the I model, the iRacing version model of the NASCAR Cup Series car. So whether it be the Ford or the Chevy or the Toyota, every driver on the same fixed setup as well. Full damage modelling on. There's no resets in this one, and we've got some full race control in action as well, and man for duty, and hence we've seen a few drive-through penalties over the course of some of the heats. Lasse Sorensen still sitting there in second place. Now my eye is drawn back towards third again, because Jeffrey Ruffin had gapped Loris Hazemans, but Loris Hazemans has managed to close back up again. So it's sort of 2 for the lead, then a little bit of a bigger gap, and then another pair now, albeit teammates also, fighting over third and fourth position. 12 minutes of the race gone. 8 laps completed. Andre Castro has led every one of them so far, but is still only 0.2 of a second ahead of Lasse Sorensen. We heard earlier on from Norbert, didn't we, the motorsport manager for DF1 Racing, and as you suggested, they are taking this racing very seriously, and rightly so they should, and Hendricks Motorsport are, because it's not just the individual drivers championship. There is a sort of a teams championship that we have in real racing when we get racing for real, and whoever is the winner of this esports series, that driver will carry 40 points into the teams championship when we get racing for real, Andre.
Yes, totally right, and we have to explain the team championship maybe a little bit in more detail, because it's not like a normal European championship where a team gets points. It's the car. So we have the 122 here from Andre Castro. He's in the 22 in the real world. He's sharing the car with Ander Villarino, and both will collect points for the 22 car, not for DF1 Racing per se. So Lasse Sorensen, who's wait, I think we have a lead change right now.
We do. Lasse Sorensen has been able to squeeze his way through and ahead of Andre Castro. Castro trying to fight back, but Lasse Sorensen was so patient, waiting for the opportunity, and it has just come. And now, all of a sudden, we've got 4 for the lead of the race. Sorensen leads, Castro in second place, Jeffrey Ruffin sitting there in third place, and Loris Hazemans in fourth place. Now, these top 4 drivers, Andre, are the top 4 drivers we've got in the championship at the moment. Lasse Sorensen leads the championship. He leads the race. Jeffrey Ruffin is second in the championship. He is third in the race. Here's the replay. It was a good run coming down the straight from Lasse Sorensen. Andre Castro knew he was alongside, knew he couldn't turn in on his teammate, so did the most sensible thing, took a wide run through the corner, see whether there was an opportunity for a cutback, but the job was done. That was surely the perfect overtaking opportunity there. So Ruffin second in the championship, he's third in the race. Loris Hazemans is third in the championship, he is fourth in the race. And Andre Castro, who has now dropped down into second in the race, lies fourth in the championship. So the cream has risen to the top again, hasn't it? These drivers are going to fight it out all season long in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, I'm sure, Andre.
Yes, you're totally right. And I think Jeffrey Ruffing is going to take the second place from Andre Castro. He's squeezing his car through to second place. And I think Andre Castro is struggling with the tires right now. Also, Loris Hesemans is there to try to get ahead of Andre Castro right now. They're going to the next left-hander. But look at this! Look at this beautiful sim racing we see.
Oh, fantastic stuff! Yeah, Rubin is racing even in the virtual world as well. Andre Castro doing everything he can to attack and defend at the same time. There's traffic just up the road as well that they're going to have to deal with before too much longer. But I think you're right. Andre Castro just seems to be struggling a little bit with the tyres. Remember, we're only halfway through this race now as well. There's Castro. Ruffin sort of lagged on my screen a little bit and then appears up the inside as Castro couldn't get the car turned into the corner. Then Ruffin gets a little bit of oversteer midway through. There was then a little bit of a tag between the two of them, and Loris Hesemans was poised and ready to pounce if they tripped over each other, which they didn't. But clean racing, fair racing, albeit very close racing from all of them, and that has just allowed Lasse Sorensen to escape a little bit from their grasp. So he now leads by 2 seconds from Jeffrey Ruffin in second place as we look forward at the fight for second and third. On board with the fourth place car, the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion, Loris Hesemans, bouncing over the curbs on the left-hand side. No opportunity to attack into the braking area for the next of the left-handers. But you can see that as the circuit starts to open up a little bit in the next couple of corners, there could be an opportunity, but Castro will be wise to that. Out of turn number 6, down the big long straight in towards turn number 7. Now, this is where Jeffrey Ruffin was able to squeeze his way through a lap or so ago. Castro this time, though, has got enough momentum down the straight so as to hang on to third position. And I think, Andre, this is going to be one of those fights that is just going to continue all the way through the race, because if Andre Castro can just drive a nice wide car and make sure he gets off the corners cleanly, then it's not exactly going to be easy, is it, for Loris Hesemans to work his way through?
Yes, it's all about having the perfect line right now for Andre Castro, but I think he's still struggling with the tires. We have about 13 minutes left right now, and I think a lot of drivers having problems with overheating with the tire wear. Only Lasse Sorensen is incredibly fast at the front, and I think he was faster in the early stages of the races as well, but he was a little bit held back by Andre Castro, who's now shuffled a little bit further down the order. And I have one thing open about the team championship. I tried to make it very quick. The 22. Andre Castro is collecting points for the 22 car in real life, also under Villarino. On the other hand, the DF1 racing drivers, Lasse Sorensen and Andreas Jochimsen, who are sharing the 66 cars, are collecting points for the 66 car for DF1 racing. So the DF1 racing drivers for different cars are fighting each other in the team championship. So if, let's say, Lasse Sorensen wins the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, he's collecting points not for DF1 racing, but for the 66 car.
Yeah, it's called the Teams Championship, but it's not. It's really, it's the car that's shared between those two drivers. So in the case of DF1, they've probably got 3 cars in the Teams Championship in reality. Alex Fontana is now starting to think about attacking the Monster Energy Chevy that lies ahead in the hands of PK Carsport driver Alan Day. Alan Day is not that far away from Bavo Fallon, so this is Fallon in 8th place, Day in 9th place. Alex Fontana sitting there in 10th position at this stage as they all start to stretch their legs again round through turn number 11 up towards turn number 12, which is the final corner on this 2.5 mile or 4.04 kilometre Indianapolis road course. We are now, just 11.5 minutes away from the end of the race, and Jeffrey Ruffin is now back down in third position. Andre Castro has made it back through again, so whatever the problem was with his car, there may be the tyres were just getting a little bit warm, and a couple of slower laps has just allowed them to cool down a little bit. It's dropped the pressures, because iRacing is very clever the way it works all the dynamics of the cars out, and all of a sudden he's able to steal the place back away. So once more, it's a DF1 Racing 1-2, and the Hendricks cars are 3rd, 4th and 5th, Andre.
Yes, totally crazy race we have here, and we have 10 minutes left in this race. And I think this battle is still going on. I don't think that everything is decided right now. The only thing is, Lasse Sorensen at front, he's taking advantage from the battle behind him. Of course, when they are fighting each other, they're losing time, and Lasse Sørensen has the opportunity to build that kind of a gap. And I think when he's managing his tires well, he is on a good way to win his first race in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. And remember, this could be the 5th winner in 5 races, including the prologue.
Absolutely, to have 5 different winners in 5 races as we enter the semi-finals and it becomes double points after this race here this evening, then that's really going to leave the championship on a knife edge. Now, Jeffrey Ruffin, having been second, dropping down into third, is now allowing Andre Castro to break away from him. A slightly wiggly moment from Loris Hazeman's cost him what otherwise I think would have been a good run there coming over the start-finish line. But he's going to have a go, and he's through. He's now up into 3rd position. Can he get the car anchored up for turn number 1? Yes, he can. Hazeman's through into what is now 3rd position. Jeffrey Ruffin down into 4th place, having been second at the beginning of the lap. We go on board with Ruffin, now looking at his teammate that lies ahead. So it's still a DF1 Racing 1-2. It's still Hendrix Ford's in 3rd, 4th and 5th position, but it's now Hazeman's up to 3rd place, Ruffin down to 4th. Whilst you were chatting, Andre, we did see a replay of exactly how Andre Castro got his way through. Jeffrey Ruffin didn't exactly make it easy. There was contact, but after that, then once the door was open, he'd managed to barge his way through. Slight problem there for Bavo Fallon, which I think might have cost him a little bit of time. He's now running in 9th position. There we go on the replay. Yeah, just tried to turn in. Contact between himself and the front end of Simon Palat's car, and Bavo Fallon took to the grass as a result of what happened between the pair of them. And that means now that Fallon is in 9th position. Simon Palat is now up 11 places from his starting position and is now in 7th place. But look at the queue of cars that sits behind him. Simon Palat in 7th place, Alan Day in 8th place, Bavo Fallon 9th. Then it's Alex Fontana, and I think Ulysse Delceau isn't that far away as well. So this is a great little fight for 7th, certainly through to 10th position, if not almost 11th.
And I think Alan Day...
It's Scott Jeffs, rather, that's at the back of it.
Yeah, I think Alan Day has some problems to get back the positions he lost early in the race. Alan Day was fighting for a top 5 spot in the first laps, then was shuffled back. I don't know exactly what happened there, but now he's caught up in this big train of cars, and he has some problems getting further back to the top of the standings. I don't know what's the problem with the 24 car. Maybe he has some damage, but it looks good to me.
Yeah, well, he sort of started in 14th position, didn't he, Alan Day? And is now running in 11th place. We just saw a bit of an off there for Giorgio Maggi, the tail end of the number 18 Hendrix Motorsport Ford, crying enough, and a bit of a grassy moment that the Swiss driver had to gather up. Back to the fight for 7th place. Simon Palat still doing a good job of holding off the aspirations of 2 times former NASCAR Pro champion Alan Day. Alan Day, again, a little bit sideways, even turning into the corner there. A bit of turning oversteer by the look of things to me on that Monster Energy Chevrolet. Of course, he'll very easily get power oversteer if he thumps the accelerator a bit too quickly. But down the straights they will go. Bavo Fallon not that far behind. Then, after Bavo Fallon, it's Alex Fontana. Ulysse Delceau is just outside of the top 10 at the moment. Brian Krauls is in 11th. Colavita, Chris Lehman going well. He's in 14th place. Davide Dallara 15th. And Henry Tuamala sits there in 16th position at the moment. But 7 minutes to go. We're looking at the fight for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th places at this stage. Whilst Lasse Sorensen has sort of checked out, hasn't he, in a lead 4 seconds up the road now is Lasse Sorensen. There's still a fight going on for 2nd and 3rd though. Castro and Hazeman's are still only half a second apart. So here is Andre Castro. And there is, right behind him, Loris Hazeman's. They've just managed to gap Jeffrey Ruffin a little bit. And here is Lasse Sorensen. So nice, clean, clear air around Lasse Sorensen. He can fully concentrate his efforts on the road ahead. No such worries about what's going on behind him. There's no real back markers for him to worry about either in this one, Andre. It just seemed as though there was half an opportunity. He got a really good run coming out on turn number 6 to grab the lead of the race. And since then, with a mixture of maybe an overheating tyre for a lap or 2 for Andre Castro and then the squabbles that were going on, it's just given him the gap and the advantage that he wants with 6 minutes to go. I think we might have lost Andre again there, possibly. So back towards
I'm here. I'm here now. I'm back. Yeah, some connection problems. I'm sorry for that.
Hey.
Yeah, Andre Castro. The problem is, I think he's still struggling with the tires. You see sometimes the car a little bit sliding, but I think he managed to adopt and change his driving style a little bit, and now he's getting the maximum out of this car. But it took some time, and I also told you a little bit earlier in the broadcast that you have to be in the rhythm for the road course part of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I think when he got overtaken by Jeffrey Hoofen, he lost a little bit of that rhythm, and when he got back the rhythm, adopted his driving style a little bit, he was quick again. So it was the tires, maybe get them a little bit cooler, get the temperature down, but also adopting the driving style and get back into the rhythm.
Yeah, it is difficult, isn't it, when you break that rhythm to try and get back into it. Here we go back towards the fight for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th position. Alan Day under attack from Bavo Fallon. Is the contact between the pair of them? No, not quite. Alan Day bounces over the curve, but Bavo Fallon's going to steal the place here, and Alex Fontana's going to want to try and have a little bit of that as well. He's now looking to try and get the 42 Racing Ford through and up the inside of the double former champion. Alan Day will have none of that. The PK Car Sport Monster Energy back Chevy fights away as they head round through the twists and turns of the infield road course section, but Alan Day has just lost one place. He doesn't want to lose a further one, and now look who's caught up as well. Ulysse Delceau, who was just a little bit off these cars, has now caught up fully in 11th position. So it is now the fight for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th position. The light blue car with the white stripes that's at the back of this is going to be the car that's a lap down, and now Alex Fontana looks to try and get a move again on Alan Day. I think there's a little bit of contact between the pair of them going into the corner. Alan Day still managing to hang on to it. There's further contact coming out, and Alan Day gets spun around by Alex Fontana. So a 360-degree spin on the grass for Alan Day moves Alex Fontana up into 9th place. Ulysse Delceau comes up into 10th place. The Ford of Brown Crowells comes up into 13th place, and Alan Day will rejoin after his spin on the grass, 4 places down from where he started on the grid, and is now down into 12th position. Let's have a quick look. Bouncing over the curbs was Alex Fontana there, and Alan Day just got tagged at the rear end of that one. Alan, we know Alan Day particularly well. It might be virtual racing, but he is a hugely competitive driver there, and he won't be happy, I wouldn't have thought, with that one, Andre, for sure.
Oh yes, absolutely. I had the exact same thought about the feelings of Alan Day right now that you had. So I think Alan Day is going to be a little bit angry, a little bit frustrated, because he loves winning. He's there to be competitive. He's there to win races. He doesn't care about politics. He doesn't care about stuff going on around the paddock. He's just there to race and to win. And he does not separate the real world and the simulator that much. For him, it's all about winning, also in the virtual world. And he is a very fast driver here, but he has some problems here today. The car is not handling very well. I think maybe the setup is not suit him very good, but also now with the little crash he had with Fontana, it's going backwards for the Israeli who won the EuroNASCAR championship 2 times.
Yeah, 2017, 2018 champion. He, of course, has raced over on the other side of the Atlantic in Xfinity, in the Monster Energy Series, and in the Camping Truck Series as well. So he's taken in a few races on the other side of the Atlantic. We've now got just under 2 minutes to go. We're looking at Simon Palat, who is running in 7th position. Even if he finishes in 7th place, that's a fantastic result, because he is now 11 places up from where he started. Bavo Fallon sits behind him, who started 12th and is now running in 8th position. Alex Fontana, I think, might be on for the 4 additional points for the most places gained. 22 places gained so far for Alex Fontana in his progress through the order. So he has done beautifully well, and might pick up the extra 4 points for the driver that gains the most places from starting position to finishing position. But we've still got another lap and a bit to go potentially. Bavo Fallon looking to try and apply the pressure onto the Feedvic Racing Chevy of Simon Palat that lies directly ahead of him. It'd be great to see the young 18-year-old Belgian driver in the EuroNASCAR Whelen Euro Series when we get things underway for sure. He was a semi-finalist in the Feedvic Racing's 2019 selection process, and is certainly proving his worth at e-racing as well, keeping Bavo Fallon right behind him with now less than 60 seconds to go in this one. It certainly looks as though Loris Hazemans, Lasse Sorensen, I should say, who is leading the race and is about to start his final lap, is on course for a win. I think he's already now on to his final lap, is Lasse Sorensen, as this fight for 7th and 8th places continues. Let's just have a quick look at what happened to Henry Tuamala for DF1 Racing down the main straight, looking to try and attack Chris Lehman's car that sits ahead of him. And as they turn through the next little complex of corners, Henry Tuamala, nice and neat and tidy, is not really going to be able to close up on Brian Krulls. Now, Alex Fontana has headed to... There might be a drive-through penalty for that contact.
Yeah, I haven't seen any sign right now or any information that we had a drive-through penalty, but I think that could be a penalty for him. And Lasse Sorensen, look at this, 4.5 seconds in the lead. I think he's going to be our 5th winner in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, expanding, of course, his championship lead in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. So I think this is going to be a great day for DF1 Racing again, but the fight for the 2nd position is still not over. Loris Hazemans is still at the back of Andre Castro, and I think maybe there's one opportunity left.
Yeah, I think there might be one more roll of the dice for Loris Hazemans. For Alex Fontana, pit in to pit out. He's now showing, so it does suggest that it wasn't some sort of drive-through penalty. Here comes Lasse Sorensen to make it 5 winners out of the 5 different races, if we include the prologue, in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing, supported from i.can.com and Sim Racing League TV. He will be a very happy Danish driver. Andre Castro comes through to finish in 2nd place, and Loris Hazemans makes it the home in 3rd place. So it's a DF1 Racing 1-2. The Hendricks Fords of Hazemans, of Jeffrey Rufen and Tobias Downhauer finishing 3rd, 4th and 5th in the end. Marion Kramer's in 6th place, just ahead of this battle for 7th and 8th place. It still goes the way of Feedvic Racing's Simon Palat, just ahead of Bavo Fallon, who finished in 8th place. Ulysse Delceau will finish in 9th place, and Brian Krells, who we spoke about earlier on, who does all of the hard work trying to establish the baseline setups that everybody uses in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, will complete the top 10. So Lasse Sorensen is going to celebrate with a few donuts here on the Indianapolis road course. We'll run you down through the full set of results, and then I think we could probably throw to some highlights of some of the previous racing that we've had in the 2019 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series whilst we gather our drivers for the post-race interviews. Alex Fontana, I think, is now not going to pick up the extra 4 points for gaining the most places, or is he? He crossed the line in 18th place. That is still 13 places ahead of where he started. So I think, despite the drive-through penalty, the 4 additional points might still be going the way of Alex Fontana. We'll get confirmation of that, though, over the course of the next hour or so, and the official results will all be posted on the EuroNASCAR.com website as well. Giorgio Maggi hasn't had the look in the race, but he's still sliding the car around through the final couple of corners. He will head over the start-finish line and take the checkered flag. And the last few cars just trickling their way over now, which by the look of things include Santo Vauxadoria, who, again, didn't quite have the look that he was looking for. So we will bring you the full rundown of the results. So we will grab our drivers, and whilst we're grabbing them, we'll look at some of the highlights from some of the previous year's racing that we've had. So confirmation of the results, and Lasse Sorensen, who was already the championship leader, subject to official confirmation, picks up maximum championship points for the first time this season with his first win. Ahead of his DF1 Racing teammate Andre Castro. Loris Hazemans, Jeffrey Rufen and Tobias Downhauer complete the top 5, with Marion Kramer, Simon Palat, Bavo Fallon, Ulysse Delceau and Brian Crowells completing the top 10. Despite the little bit of contact which pitched him into a spin, Alan Day finishes in 11th position ahead of Leonardo Colavita. Chris Lehman having a great run, finishing in 13th place from Henry Tuamala, Guillaume de Flandre, Alain Muscaron, Fred Gabillon, and Alex Fontana, despite the drive-through penalty, still finished 18th, and I think mathematically might have picked up the extra 4 points for gaining the most places, as he finished in 18th position. In 19th place, it is going to be Claudio Sabatini, Jakob Krafek, Vladimiras Joitsis, Giorgio Maggi, Justin Kuntz, Santu Fuxadoria, Alessandro Brigatti, and Vittorio Gorelli finished the top 26, and then to get through the top 30, Scott Jeffs, Davide Delara, Gordon Barnes, and Ben Crean. And Navitella, Philip Beresvel, Stefano Gustavalle, Andreas Jukemsen, Ruben Garcia, and Sebastian Bleeky Molen was the last of the